Okay, so now that we've got the external surface and face of our building, so we've got all the external kind of volume and shape of the building. Now it's start to add some detail into it. So we're going to look at staircases, ceilings, and that kind of stuff, railings, that kind of stuff internally now, and then we'll start annotating it in the next tutorial. So to do staircases, one thing I like to do is actually see what I'm doing when I'm modeling. So if you click on the roof, if you click on the roof, you can hide elements of your model that you don't want to see as you're modeling. So one trick is if you click on the roof, and if you click on right click, hide in view elements, so that will hide that view now. That will hide the roof. It's still there. It's if you go to, for example, if I go to my elevation, it's still there in the elevation, but in that 3D view, it's hidden. Okay. To get that back at any one point, you can click on the little light bulb at the top and the bottom, sorry, and click on that, and this will show you everything that's hidden. Again, the roof should come back in red, and then if you click on the roof again, right click, unhide in view now, elements, and then if you click off that little light bulb, it'll bring it back. So I'm going to hide that for now so you can see what's happening inside. Elements, so you can see what's going on inside. So there it is just there. So we want to put our staircase in, obviously, here, so that we can get from ground floor to first floor. Okay, so to create a staircase, if I go back to ground floor, now in Revit, the staircase tool is quite good because it actually works out quite a lot of things for you. So it works out how many steps you need from ground floor to first floor based on whatever you've told it is your floor to floor distance. You can do you can sketch floors, which is slightly more advanced, but you can do a number of types of staircases and that kind of stuff. But the simple one is just to create a simple staircase and let Revit work out the rest of it. Okay. For this, we know our staircase based on our plan is going to go here. Okay. Now, one thing I want to do is quickly is measure that because the stairs are going to have to fit inside that space. So when I create my stairs, I can specify the width of my staircase. So to measure something in Revit, if you click on Modify, and you see the measuring tool, so the measure distances between two references points, click on that, and then again you just go to where you want to measure it. So I want to measure from here to this point. So that's 950 on my plan. Just click escape and that just gets out. So I know that that gap there is 950 for the width of my staircase. Okay, so that's quite important to know. To create a staircase, if you go architecture stairs, so architecture stair under circulation, we want to specify the run. So the location line, again, similar, it's quite a handy tool here because you can specify to draw it off the edge of the external wall, or you can draw it in the center. I usually go with exterior support right or left, so at least then I've got a wall to draw against rather than it just being in the middle and then have to adjust it later. So I usually pick either left or right. The actual run width would be 950 because that's what we just measured. Landing, we don't need a landing, so that doesn't really matter for now, but you can leave it on and off. If you wanted to have a staircase with a landing, you can do it, and then in the advanced tutorials we will do that. Again, you can pick and choose the type of staircase that you want as well. So again, there's more examples of that in the other tutorials that we're going to be doing. Again, Revit will work out everything. So if I start here, so for example, how I did that was just hover over that, and then a dashed line comes in, and that purple cross comes in to indicate that point there is exactly the same point on that wall at that to line through there. Okay, I start there, and then I go up. Sorry, I'll change that back to 950. Okay, and then I go up. Now the key thing here, you can see here, down here, it says, you probably see it in gray. It tells you how much rises you've created and how much is remaining. So how much steps you've created and how much steps are remaining. So you must make sure you drag the step all the way, the staircase all the way out to 16 created and 0 remaining in this example. Because if you stop halfway, you're going to have a staircase that is only half complete. So steps won't go all the way to the first floor. So you must make sure that you extend it all the way and there's 0 remaining steps, because then at least then you know steps are going from ground floor all the way to first floor as they should. Obviously, if you have a midpoint landing, you would stop at after a certain amount of steps and then start again, in which case we'll go over that in the next tutorials when we do the commercial building. But here for now, it's just a simple run of staircase that's going up. So I'll extend it all the way up. So once you've done that, just click it, ignore that little error message, and that's your staircase put in. Now after you've done this, you can adjust this if you needed to. If you want to select it and move it vertically or horizontally, you can do. You can adjust the width of it as well, so you can check and adjust the width if you needed to. My one's fine, I'm happy with that. Once I'm happy with it, I would tick it, and that will create my staircase. Okay. A couple of things you can do here is obviously you can change the handrail. So if you zoom in, you can change the handrail. So if you zoom in and use a tab key until you find the handrail. So down here tells you what you're selected in blue. So that's so staircase, and then glass panel. So you might want to change that to concept 1100, and you might want to get rid of one of them. So I'm going to get rid of this one because I don't need one on both sides because of the wall. So if you select it, click delete on your keyboard, you can get rid of one. I'm going to keep one because when I get to the first floor, I'm going to turn mine in along the corridor. Okay, so I only want a single rail on my one. Again, there's multiple options on staircases and railings and that kind of stuff in the full kind of Revit suite. So we've done the initial steps. So we're going to go at my 3D. See here, it's starting to come up. But one thing is important here to understand is we need to create the floor opening for our staircase. In order for this stairs to kind of come through. So it's there. It's just not, the opening's not done for it yet. So in order to create the floor opening, there's a couple of ways of doing this. I'll show you one example. There is other examples which I'll show you in the more advanced tutorials. So this is probably the simplest example, is to create essentially a cutting shaft. So a cutting plane or a cutting volume will essentially cut any floor in that space that you create or in that volume that you create in order to create that space. So for example, you create this arbitrary shaft of volume, and anything within that space that is floor is cut or taken away from the model. So it's basically a cutting shaft. So to create one, we need to go to architecture, opening shaft. Cancel that. Now you need to create the rectangle of your opening. So I want my shaft to be about that size for now. And then a couple of things here. Base offset, I would put that to plus 150, because if you leave it at minus 150, it's going to cut the ground below as well. Because remember, anything created in this space, it's cut, that's floor. So if it goes minus, it's going to cut the ground floor as well. So we don't want that. And make sure your top is set to first floor, because what we don't want to do is go all the way through the ceiling and the roof and cut the roof as well. So if you go to first floor, and then 150 above the first floor. So anything in that zone should be fine for cutting. So 150 above ground, and then 150 above the first floor. That's enough of a volume of space that you're gonna cut the ground floor, first floor, sorry, comfortably and without any errors. Once you've done that, if you tick it, and if I go back to my 3D sketch, that little thing you selected there, that's that volume you just created. So if I click off that now, that's the staircase now being put in. So if I hide this one for 2 seconds, so I hide elements, you see there, that's the model there. So there's a staircase, there's the shaft that you just created. So again, you can move this up and down if you so wish. So move up and down if you need. Again, if this was to go to ground floor, you can see it will cut the ground floor up as well. So that's how you find it. So you just make sure it's above. A little error here, so you can see here it's cutting through this bit, so I need to go back in and edit my footprint for that one. So if I click on here, edit sketch, if I go back to my first floor, I want that to sit obviously here, because that's cutting into that floor in the floor. So I can select that purple line there, drag that to there, make sure there's no overlaps or anything like that, and tick it, and that will now, if I go back to my 3D, move that to where I need it to be. Okay, so that's cut exactly where I need it to be without affecting the floor in the bedroom. Okay, so that's my staircase and my opening for the staircase done for that one. So what we're going to do next is, you can see here the railings. So the railings should turn around and then obviously complete the hallway upstairs. So we need to finish that railing upstairs. So if I go to my first floor, That's where the railing is going to be. And there's a railing tool that we're going to sketch in where the railing should go, and then let Revit put the railing in. Okay, so if I go to architecture, under the circulation, you'll see railing. Click on railing. Again, we're going to select the type of railing to match what we just did. So that's 1100 concept railing. Again, you can use any of the tools. I'm just going to click the line tool. So I'm going to start here. I'm going to go up a bit and then along. So I'm going to start there and then go along for a bit. Then I'm going to come down the way. And chain should have been on, and would have been a bit easier there. But yeah, just make sure chain's on if you are doing this kind of stuff. Yeah, you can put that in all the way to there. Click escape once you're done. It might need to be pushed a little bit slightly more this way, just to take it off the edge. It's fine. Once that's done, once you've got that line, it's perfect, no gaps in it, tick it, and then that should now give you a rail. So if I go back to my 3D, you should see there is a rail being put in. It's been lined up, and it is, yeah, it's perfect. Okay, so that's how you put in a rail. Okay, again, there's different types of rail. I know that doesn't comply in terms of spacings and that kind of stuff, but yeah, you can get different types of railings, and you can make your own as well. So that's slightly more advanced stuff that we'll go over in the next couple of tutorials. So yeah, that's the railings, how you insert railings into your staircase. The next thing we're going to do is, you can see on my plan that on my 3D anyway, that these rooms don't have any ceilings on them. Okay, so we create the roof, but these don't have any ceilings on them. So what we're going to do is add a ceiling onto that first floor. Now, if I was modeling this in detail, I would probably create a new floor type to go on top of there for the ceiling joists and then the plasterboard. But for now, what we'll do is we'll create a ceiling on its own, because then you get to use the ceiling tool. That ceiling tool comes in very useful when you do commercial buildings as well, because you can create false ceilings and that kind of stuff for your offices and that. So we'll have a go at doing that here. So in order to do that, if you go to architecture, you click on first floor. So click on first floor, and then if you go architecture, and then if you go to ceiling, you've got a couple of types. You've got the grid, so the tiles. So you've got 600 by 600 grid or 600 by 1200 grid, or you can click on plane, which is just plasterboard ceilings. So that's what we're going to do there. You can sketch a ceiling, but most of the time it's just easy to automatically put a ceiling in. So it will find the edges of rooms and walls to create a ceiling. So if I click on automatic, make sure that's clicked. Now, because I've set the height 2.6, it will select all my external walls as being the edges. If I was to change that, for example, if I was to put it room per room, you can change that if you want. So if I put it to 2200, you'll see it goes into rooms. Okay. Now in a commercial setting, maybe the room to room is probably the better option. Here, I'll put on top of the walls, so that the finish is flush with the wall. So I'll put it back to 2600. Now I'll click it. You'll get a warning sign saying you can't see it, which is fine because it's above our view plane for our plan, because it's above us, so you can't actually see it on the plan. So ignore that warning. So if I go back to my 3D view now you should see there's a ceiling in there. So there's a plasterboard ceiling that's been put in. Obviously, when we do a commercial building, we can specify materials, that kind of stuff, which makes it a bit more realistic. But now there's a flat ceiling that finishes off those rooms for the first floor bedrooms. Okay, so now I'm going to be putting my other bits, my walls that I've hidden back. So if I go to reveal hidden items, again, if I put my ceiling back, my roof, on hide in view elements, that'll go back, and then I've got my wall, which is red. The way to know things, if things are hidden, anything in red with a red outline is hidden. So that's how you can automatically identify quite quickly what things have been hidden. So if I click on elements there, and then once that's done, tick off the little light bulb, and that's our plan. That's our building now, with a little bit of detail inside of it, and fully complete in terms of the modeling. The next stage will really be to annotate this, add some detail for annotation, and get ready for printing.